on ongoing military operations by the Armed Forces of Nigeria for the month of April. From this press briefing and subsequently, I'm going to be introducing our CIMIC activities, that's civil military cooperation activities. That's some non-kinetic aspects of our operation so that you can also convey it to the civil populace, let them have an idea of what we are doing. That is our own way of deepening our communication with the public. As you are well aware, the armed forces continue to conduct relentless, coordinated operations across the 7 active theaters in this month. Across every geopolitical zone of the Federal Republic, troops executed precision kinetic strikes against insurgents and criminal formations, dismantled terrorist enclaves and logistical networks, and rescued scores of abducted civilians, restoring safety to communities that had endured the menace of terrorism, kidnapping, and armed violence. These operations were prosecuted in seamless collaboration with other agencies and community stakeholders whose partnership has been invaluable to the armed forces' operational successes. The period recorded some of the most decisive battlefield outcomes over the last 3 months, with numerous insurgents neutralized, multiple enclaves stormed and destroyed, and a substantial number of abducted citizens reunited with their families. Now let us look at the various operations theaters. I will start with Joint Task Force Northeast, Operation Hadinkai. Operation Hadinkai continued with unrelenting kinetic campaign against Boko Haram, otherwise known as BH, the Islamic State West Africa Province, otherwise known as ISWAP, and Jamaat al-Sunnah leader Wati Wal Jihad, known as JAS, elements across Adamawa, Borno, Gombe, Taraba, and Yobe states. They significantly curtailed terrorist freedom of movement through coordinated ambushes, fighting patrols, and both air and artillery fire. During the month, troops neutralized 136 terrorist fighters, arrested 114 suspects, rescued 18 kidnapped victims, and facilitated the surrender of 9 insurgents and their families. Significantly, on the 1st of April, 8 terrorists were neutralized in a coordinated ambush at the Gadangari Axis, Bama local government area of Borno State, with no casualties recorded on the side of troops. Clearance operations at the Dajin Madam and Kumbuduro forest dismantled multiple terrorist camps and led to the capture of a deputy ringleader and his wife. On the 22nd of this month, 9 captives, including women and children, who had escaped from terrorist captivity in the Mandara Mountains, were rescued by troops, who subsequently repelled a determined enemy counterattack launched to capture them. In the most decisive engagement of the period, troops at Kukareta in Damaturu local government area of Yobe State, acting on actionable intelligence, repelled a massive coordinated assault on the 23rd of the month. They also neutralized 21 terrorists and recovered 12 AK-47 rifles, 1 general-purpose machine gun, 1 PKT machine gun, 1 RPG tube, 1 60mm mortar, and 143 rounds of ammunition. Operations continued with sustained intensity into the final days of April. A follow-up exploitation along the terrorist withdrawal route at Kukareta on the 24th of the month uncovered 2 additional corpses of insurgents neutralized during the earlier engagement, along with 5 AK-47 magazines and a camel bag water bottle container. On the 25th, troops neutralized 1 terrorist and recovered 1 AK-47 rifle during an ambush at Kafin Hausa in Madagali local government area of Adamawa State. In the early hours of 26th of April, a night ambush at a terrorist crossing point in Gujba, local government area of Yobe State, based on credible intelligence from tracking insurgent movements, resulted in the neutralization of 2 additional terrorists and the recovery of 1 AK-47 rifle, 3 magazines, 16 rounds of 7.62 mm special ammunition, and 1 hand grenade. On the same day, troops deployed in Buratai local government area of Borno State sighted terrorists on camera trying to infiltrate their defensive location. Troops engaged the terrorists and neutralized them. On the 28th, troops rescued an abducted woman in Goza local government area, Borno State, who escaped captivity in the Mandara Mountains following artillery bombardments, while separate clearance operations by troops in Gedam neutralized 5 terrorists and recovered weapons as an airstrike on a terrorist base in Guduf further destroyed structures and eliminated about 20 insurgents. On the next day, that is 29th of April, troops conducted coordinated ground and air offensives in the Timbuktu axis and Bulabulin forest, neutralized 18 terrorists, destroying their enclaves and recovered 14 weapons, ammunition, and IED materials. The operation, supported by the air component, involved clearance of multiple terrorist locations, with additional engagements along the Wajiroko-Sabongeri corridor, yielding further enemy casualties and equipment recovery. Follow-up operations are ongoing to track fleeing insurgents and prevent regrouping. The cumulative neutralization of terrorists across Operation Hadinkai during this period represents a significant degradation of insurgent operational capacity in the Northeast Theater. Later that day, troops at Mayanti conducted an ambush in Dikwa local government area of Borno State. When troops made contact with suspected terrorist logistics suppliers, 5 terrorists were neutralized and 2 bicycles, 2 fabric mats, and some food items were recovered. There was no casualty on own troops' side. Later that day also, troops also conducted clearance operations at Bulabulin forest in Gedam. Troops made contact with terrorists at Malam Shiri village and neutralized 6 terrorists, while 5 AK-47 rifles, 1 PKT gun, 1 grenade, 5 extra magazines, 2 motorcycles, 1 Baofeng radio, 463 rounds of 7.62 by 54 mm belted, 110 rounds of 7.62 by 39 mm special, 3 bandoliers, the sum of 40,000 naira, and items for improvised explosive ordnances, IED fabrication, were also recovered. On our part, we received 2 of our soldiers were wounded, while 4 of our MRAP tires were damaged. Next is Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Fasanyama. The operation has continued to deliver devastating and precise strikes against terrorist elements across Kaduna, Katsina, Kebbi, Sokoto, and Zamfara states throughout the period, dismantling criminal networks and protecting communities from violent attacks. During the month, troops neutralized 24 terrorist fighters arrested 32 suspects, rescued 70 kidnapped victims, and facilitated the surrender of one insurgent. On the 31st of March, coordinated fighting patrols across communities in Kebbi and Zamfara neutralized multiple insurgents and demolished a notorious terrorist kingpin's hideout. By the 5th of this month, troops rescued 31 worshippers abducted from an Ekwa church at Ariko village in Kachia local government area of Kaduna State, a landmark demonstration of the armed forces' resolve that no place of worship shall be surrendered to terrorists. A few days later, on the 8th, 18 locals, including 2 infants, abducted at Gidamadi village in Wurno local government area of Sokoto State, were rescued after troops ambushed and routed their captors. Then, on the 20th, a terrorist camp at Muhaye town was destroyed following a coordinated artillery bombardment and cordon and search operation. Kinetic pressure was sustained and escalated through the final week of April. On the 21st, troops in Kusheri village in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State aggressively pursued kidnappers and rescued 3 victims. Troops in Zurmi local government in Zamfara simultaneously engaged and dispersed a terrorist group and recovered 1 AK-47 rifle. Then, on the 27th, troops conducted a fighting patrol to Dangajiru and Kokumba villages in Safi local government area of Zamfara State, neutralized 1 terrorist and dismantled several terrorist camps during the operation. Similarly, on the same date, troops intercepted and arrested a suspect transporting suspected IED components intended for delivery to an undisclosed location. The individual is now in custody for further investigation. The cumulative effect of sustained operational tempo has continued to degrade the organizational cohesion and territorial reach of criminal and terrorist networks across the Northwest Zone. On the 29th, troops conducted patrols to Wonaka, Aja, and Gidan Meaiki villages in Gusau local government area of Zamfara State. They made contact with terrorists at Aja village, neutralized 4 of the terrorists, and recovered 2 AK-47 rifles, 1 locally fabricated handgun, 5 magazines, and 280 rounds of 7.62 mm special ammunition. Additionally, troops discovered several terrorist makeshift camps which were destroyed in situ. Later on the same day, troops at Danjibga in Safi local government area of Zamfara State came under sporadic fire from suspected terrorists. No casualties were recorded by troops. The situation is currently under control, while normalcy has been restored in the general area. Now let us look at Joint Task Force North Central Operation Savannah Shield. The operation intensified counter-terrorism and anti-kidnapping operations across Niger and Kwara states, extending operational reach into forested corridors and border communities which had long been exploited by criminal elements. During the month, troops neutralized 21 terrorist fighters, arrested 17 suspects, and rescued 10 kidnapped victims. Significantly, on the 14th, a blocking force in Borgo local government area of Niger State made decisive contact with terrorists, crushed them in a coordinated engagement, and during the subsequent withdrawal, encountered a follow-on enemy ambush, capturing 9 motorcycles and 2 suspects with no troop casualties. Clearance operations on the 16th at Kongore, Tungambalki, and Dabanwoko villages in Borgu local government area of Niger State dismantled further terrorist camps and yielded IED materials. Then on the 16th, troops at Idera community in Ifelodun local government area of Kwara State, in conjunction with forest guards and vigilantes, engaged kidnappers at Iru Forest and rescued 3 abducted victims. Clearance operations intensified from the 24th, with troops advancing to Tung and Mariga in Kayama local government area of Kwara State, discovered and destroyed suspected bandits' makeshift camps at Nuku village, and recovered 6 Dane guns from abandoned settlement positions. A follow-on clearance operation by troops on the 26th in Patigi local government area of Kwara State made contact with terrorist logistics suppliers who sustained gunshot wounds, with 3 motorcycles and assorted supplies being recovered. Then on the 28th, suspected terrorists attacked Wamba community in Mariga local government area of Niger State. The assault was met with a swift and determined response by troops and the local vigilante, which successfully repelled the attack, neutralized 20 terrorists while others fled with gunshot wounds. Later on that same day, troops in Ekiti local government area of Kwara State responded to a kidnap incident along the Eruku-Egbe road, rescued 1 victim, recovered 2 bandits' motorcycles, and are continuing efforts to locate the 2nd victim. The incident underscores the importance of community participation in security efforts complementing ongoing military operations. Having looked at Operation Savannah Shield, let me now look at Joint Task Force North Central Operation Enduring Peace. The operation recorded outstanding operational gains across Plateau, Bauchi, and Kaduna, neutralizing terrorists, destroying enclaves, and liberating kidnapped civilians. During the month, troops neutralized 18 terrorist fighters, arrested 48 suspects, and rescued 53 kidnapped victims. Significantly, on the 3rd of April, 3 terrorists were neutralized in the Kerem area of Wase local government area of Plateau State. The period's landmark achievement came on the 9th of April, when troops neutralized 10 terrorists between Dutsenzaki and Odera Forest in Wase local government, and in a near simultaneous assault on multiple camps, including Alta Kachala's camp in the Daji Madam Forest, troops liberated 21 kidnapped victims and destroyed several terrorist enclaves. Then, on the 15th, 4 kidnapped victims were freed from their captors after the arrest of a terrorist's wife led troops to the location of a live telephone handover operation. 2 additional victims were simultaneously rescued during a night patrol in Ukum local government area of Benue State. On the 21st of April, 2 terrorists attacked a checkpoint in Barkinladi local government area of Plateau State. They were neutralized, and a clandestine weapons manufacturing hideout at Gwandanu village in Langtan North local government area was destroyed, which yielded the recovery of 2 AK-47 rifles, a fabricated G3 rifle, and heavy manufacturing machinery, eliminating an illicit armament production cell that had been supplying criminal elements in the region. On the 24th, 1 Miss Linda Monde, as shown on the screen, was kidnapped at Hotom village in Bokos local government area of Plateau State. She was rescued after troops responded swiftly to the abduction report. Her captors fled on sighting troops. Then on the 25th, a confessional statement from 2 arrested kidnappers led to the rescue of another victim, 1 Memuna Seidu, who had been abducted in Shendam local government area of Plateau State, with 8 million naira recovered from the criminals. The full ransom collected was returned to the victim's family. On the 26th, troops conducted an offensive at Kwaki in Kwampan local government area and Fogoldep in Bokos local government area, both in Plateau State, using civilian drone teams in support of operations, made contact with terrorists, which forced their withdrawal, and arrested 1 suspect. Now to the Joint Task Force North Central Operation Wellstroke. The operation conducted robust operations across Benue, Kogi, and Nasarawa states, prosecuting kinetic engagements and swift rescue responses with commendable speed and resolve. During the month, troops neutralized 14 terrorist fighters, arrested 40 suspects, and rescued 35 kidnapped victims. Significantly, on the 13th of the month, an ambush in Kababunu local government area of Kogi State resulted in the neutralization of 2 members of a kidnapping gang, positively identified by previous victims, and the rescue of 2 additional abducted persons abandoned during the criminals' flight. Troops also rescued 3 children at Nagazi Farm Center in Adaville local government area of Kogi State after their father was killed and the children abducted. On the 16th, troops responded to the abduction of passengers of a Benue Links bus in Otuko local government area of Benue State, trailed the kidnappers, and forced them to abandon 4 of their victims. Suspected terrorist camps at Ejiba and Ofi villages in Yagba West local government of Kogi State were dismantled during clearance operations on the same date. Multiple terrorists were also eliminated in Kogi State during engagements at Tunga at Sawa Road in Lokoja local government area and along the Babangida Adua Road. Then on the 19th, a search and rescue operation at Okete Ward in Ohimini local government area of Benue State yielded the rescue of 13 kidnapped victims who were evacuated to Utuko General Hospital for medical attention. Then on the 25th, troops recorded major gains in Katsina-Ana local government area of Benue State. Troops responded to an attack in Michihe community, engaged the assailants and rescued 2 victims. In a separate raid in Ukum local government area, troops arrested 10 suspects at a terrorist enclave in the village of Kiado. In the most disturbing incident of the period, suspected criminals on the 26th invaded the Dahalukitab orphanage at Zariaji community in Lokoja local government area of Kogi State. They adopted 24 children and 2 of their matrons. However, 17 of the children were courageous enough and escaped from the abductors and have been reunited with the orphanage staff. I must mention that the armed forces, in coordination with sister security agencies, has activated an extensive rescue operation for the remaining victims. Troops are in active pursuit to ensure the safe release of all outstanding captives, which is currently underway. The armed forces assures the nation and the families affected that every resource available is being deployed to resolve this incident swiftly and safely. And then on the 28th of April, troops in Tokula, in Guma local government area of Benue State, responded to an attack on farmers, ensured the victim's safety, and arrested 5 suspects who were handed over to the police for further action. Now to the Joint Task Force South-South Operation Delta Safe. The operation intensified security operations across the South-South region, dismantling criminal networks, protecting communities, and rescuing abducted civilians with decisive force. During the month, troops arrested 17 suspects, destroyed 2 illegal refining sites, and recovered 101,443 liters of petroleum products such as crude oil, automotive gas oil, AGO, dual-purpose kerosene, DPK, and premium motor oil, PMS, combined. Significantly, on the 8th of April, troops responded to a kidnap incident in Aniocha South local government area of Delta State, engaged the abductors, neutralized 1 criminal, and rescued 2 kidnapped victims, which also resulted in the recovery of an AK-47 rifle and ammunition from the scene. Then on the 17th, One, Mr. Monday Onwe and Mrs. Mercy Onwe, who were abducted while farming at Eko Ibadan community in Esan Northeast local government area of Edo State, were rescued after their captors fled on sighting troops. On the 21st, Mr. Jonah Owobu, a 72-year-old man kidnapped in Esan East local government area, was successfully rescued and returned to his family unharmed. A clearance operation on the same date across Ibiadaobi village, Era Forest, and Akeke Forest in Esan West local government area led to the arrest of 7 suspected criminals and the dismantling of an active criminal cell terrorizing farming communities in the area. On the 27th, troops also conducted a night ambush behind the Dangote Cement Company facility and discovered and rescued 2 kidnapped victims who had been abducted from their farmland at Igiriga Obodo, Okwela community in Etsaku East, local government area of Edo State. Both victims were debriefed, given necessary care, and reunited with their families. The Armed Forces is unwaveringly committed to protecting Nigerians in their most vulnerable moments, whether in forests, on farms, or in transit, and reflects the operational vigilance that Operation Delta Safe troops maintain at all times. Having looked at Operation Delta Safe, let me now move over to Joint Task Force Southeast Operation Udoka. The operation has sustained targeted campaigns against the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra IPOB and its armed wing, the Eastern Security Network, delivering sustained blows to their operational, medical, and logistics infrastructure across the Southeast. During the period, troops neutralized 3 terrorists, arrested 16 suspects, and rescued 2 kidnapped victims. Significantly, on the 29th of March, a wanted IPOB ESN terrorist, Simon Chukwu Meru Akpoke alias Ayon, was apprehended at his hideout in Ogun State. On the 31st, 2 nurses responsible for treating IPOB and ESN wounded fighters were arrested in Anambra State, which critically dismantled the terrorist group's medical support network. Then on the 6th of April, troops destroyed the camp of a terrorist known as Aluta in Imo State, neutralized 1 terrorist and arrested another. On the 14th of April, ransom proceeds from a kidnapping in Uzo-One, local government area of Enugu State, were electronically tracked, leading to the arrest of 2 suspects and the recovery of firearms and cash. On the 21st of April, a raid in Ebonyi local government area led to the capture of 5 suspects, including one known as Calamity. You recall he is one of the ringleaders of IPOB and ESN operations in Delta State. This is a decisive arrest that has significantly disrupted the command capacity of the proscribed group in the Southeast and South-South regions. On the 27th of April, joint troops supported by aircraft stormed an identified IPOB and ESN enclave within Ajali Forest in Eziagu local government area of Enugu State. Troops engaged the terrorists, forcing them to flee, and systematically destroyed all life support structures within the enclave, including the terrorist shrine and dugout trenches. 7 victim-operated IEDs and 1 locally made grenade found within the camp were safely recovered and subsequently destroyed. The destruction of the Ajali Forest enclave, which had served as a key staging, logistics, and spiritual coordination hub for IPOB and ESN, represents a landmark blow to the group's operational base in the Southeast. Then on the 28th, troops in Eziagu local government area of Enugu State foiled a kidnapping attempt, rescued 4 victims, and recovered an abandoned bus and motorcycle. Sequel to the arrest of Mr. Chinedu a Gautu, aka Calamity, a notorious IPOB and ESN ringleader, and 4 others by troops on the 21st. Troops of Operation Udoka nabbed another IPOB ESN kingpin, one Mr. Chisom Agashi Ogadegu, aka Baron, at Onu-Ebonyi area in Izi local government area of Ebonyi State on the 28th of the month. During preliminary investigation, the suspect confessed to being a member of the dreaded IPOB ESN group and further admitted to having participated in 2 kidnap operations since the arrival of Calamity to Ebonyi State. He also confessed to assisting Calamity in the movement of 2 AK-47 rifles from Delta State following the attack on the Nigerian police personnel in February this year. The suspect subsequently led troops to his residence where 1 AK-47 rifle, 3 magazines, and 17 rounds of 7.62 mm special ammunition were recovered. The armed forces remains committed to the complete dismantling of IPOB and ESN's operational infrastructure across every state in which it attempts to operate. As I told you in the beginning, in furtherance of our communication strategy with the public, we're also going to be telling you about our civil-military cooperation activities. So on that note, let us now look at Defense Headquarters civil-military cooperation activities. The Armed Forces of Nigeria recognizes that lasting peace cannot be achieved through kinetic operations alone, and has therefore sustained robust civil-military cooperation activities across its theaters of operations. During the period, peace and security meetings were conducted in Logo, Guma, and Agatu local government areas of Benue State to promote peaceful coexistence and address recurring communal and ethnic tensions. Similar engagements were held in Takum and Donga local government area of Taraba State, as well as Toto in Nasarawa State. In addition, Operation Enduring Peace carried out civil-military relations activities in Mangu local government area of Plateau State, including the distribution of fertilizers to representatives of traditional rulers, the Christian Association of Nigeria, and the Jamaatul Islam group, as well as organized a 17-kilometer marathon to foster unity and strengthen community trust, with prizes being awarded to the top participants. Also, Operation Enduring Peace launched a concerted operation in southern Kaduna to secure the farming season through enhanced security, farmer support, and community collaboration to prevent conflict and ensure food production. The weight of these operational outcomes recorded by Operation Enduring Peace reflects a sustained dedicated campaign to ensure food security, notwithstanding the prevailing security situation. On this note, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, has directed all theater commanders to fully integrate civil-military cooperation activities into their operational activities, ensuring professionalism, facilitating the resettlement of displaced communities in order to reinforce public confidence in military operations. The Armed Forces reaffirms that community cooperation remains a vital pillar of national security and will continue to expand civil initiatives as part of efforts to build inclusive and sustainable peace across the country. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen of the press, the consolidated operational outcomes recorded across all 7 theaters in the month of April presents an unambiguous account of an armed force fully committed to its constitutional mandate and fully accountable to the Nigerian people. During this period, the armed forces neutralized During this period, the armed forces neutralized 216 terrorists across multiple engagements, rescued 188 abducted civilians, including women, children, and the elderly, orphans, farmers, and worshippers, and restored them to their families. We also stormed and destroyed numerous terrorist camps, criminal enclaves, IED-laden hideouts, and illicit armament production facilities. We arrested 284 of their key ringleaders, logisticians, and collaborators who had hitherto operated with impunity. These outcomes are not abstract achievements. Behind every rescued victim is a family that has been made whole. And behind every destroyed enclave is a community that has been reclaimed. The armed forces hold itself fully accountable for every operation conducted, ensuring strict compliance with the rules of engagement, the laws of armed conflict, the Rome Statutes, and all applicable provisions of international humanitarian law. On the screen, as you can see, is a bar chart of our activities for the last 4 months. That is January to April. We can see a mixed bag of achievements. You can see that we neutralized terrorists. That has increased slightly, while those arrested have reduced. The civilians rescued has also increased, while terrorists who surrendered has reduced, particularly for the month of April. All other indices, as you can see, have reduced, including the illegal refining sites. On that note, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Olatunbonsu Oluyede, commends the courage and sacrifice of all troops across every theater and charges them to maintain the operational momentum with vigilance, discipline, and compassion for the population that they serve. The Armed Forces pauses with solemn reverence to honor those gallant officers and soldiers who paid the supreme price in defense of the nation during this period. You recall that on the 9th of this month, in an engagement against terrorist elements at Beni Sheikh in Kaga local government area of Borno State, 2 officers and 2 soldiers were killed in action, among them the brigade commander, Brigadier General Oseni Brimo, whose bravery, personal leadership under fire, and unwavering commitment to his troops embody the highest ideals of military service and the finest traditions of the Armed Forces of Nigeria. The Armed Forces also recognizes the unwavering sacrifices of Colonel I.A. Mohammed and his troops in Mongunu, who paid the supreme price. These extraordinary Nigerians stood between danger and the rest of the nation, and they did not flinch. The Chief of Defense Staff and the entire Armed Forces of Nigeria hereby extend heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families, comrades, and loved ones of all fallen heroes. The Armed Forces assures their families and their loved ones that they did not die in vain. Their memory shall fortify the resolve of every soldier, sailor, and airman who carries the nation's flag forward, and their sacrifice shall be honored through the continued pursuit of the peace and security they gave their lives to protect. The nation owes them a debt that can never be fully repaid, but which the Armed Forces pledges to honor through the enduring quality and professionalism of its service. The Chief of Defense Staff further assures every Nigerian that all communities are considered important to the Armed Forces of Nigeria's protection, and no criminal or terrorist organization, regardless of its financial resources, geographic spread, or ideological ambition, is beyond the reach of the Armed Forces of Nigeria. The Nigerian public is all to continue partnering with us by providing timely and credible intelligence through available reporting channels. For the press, my friends, the fourth estate of the realm, the most important segment of the nation, as far as I'm concerned, we call upon you all to sustain responsible, factual, and patriotic reporting that supports national security objectives and counters terrorist propaganda. Nigeria's peace is a shared responsibility, and the armed forces shall honor that responsibility with every resource, every soldier, and every ounce of national resolve at its disposal. On that note, I say thank you all for your rapt attention. May God bless the armed forces of Nigeria. May God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.